All right, good afternoon and evening to all of our viewers in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and in Missouri. I'm Joshua Weisel here with a look at your forecast. And as you can see over my shoulder, overnight tonight, pretty much the same copy-paste forecast we've seen over the last several mornings as we get your 4th of July started tomorrow morning. Overnight lows anywhere from the lower to the upper 70s, depending on the location. Now, before we proceed, there's going to be a slight change to the forecast for tomorrow. We're still expecting a handful of maybe some isolated showers and storms, but late tomorrow night into early Sunday, we'll have some opportunities for more widespread showers, thunderstorms, and maybe some localized heavy rainfall. But overnight tonight, mostly quiet. The remainder of this afternoon and this evening, there's going to be the potential for a couple pop-up showers and storms in some locations. Not everyone's going to see this activity, but as we've been mentioning, just be mindful of the pop-up potential. Here's a look at your 4th of July forecast. Now that it's finally here, it feels weird that time's going pretty fast and pretty slow. Here's a look at what we've got for the highs tomorrow, anywhere from the lower to the upper 90s, depending on location. So we've told you that this forecast's been kind of back and forth with the temperatures. Temperatures are looking a little bit warmer tomorrow, and because of that, as we've been mentioning the last several days, we believed that there was going to be enough for some heat advisories. We'll get to that here in just a second. Highs in the lower to the upper 90s, depending on location. That's also going to bring heat index values anywhere from 102 to 100 and possibly 110. So it's going to be pretty warm in some locations tomorrow. So let's walk you through the rain chances for the remainder of today into tomorrow. For the next, several hours later today, tonight, tomorrow morning, no highlighted risk for severe weather, but a couple pop-up showers and storms will be possible. So we make our way into the rain chances, very similar to what we saw yesterday. Just because you see some of the medium to the high risks with some of this activity that we've got going on here, it doesn't mean that rain's guaranteed. It just means that the ingredients are a little bit more favorable in those highlighted areas for that isolated to patchy pop-up activity. Now, something else, is going to be the potential for some localized heavy rainfall. Now, as you can see here, we've got the rain activity across the area, but it's not super heavy. That's going to change by the time we get to tomorrow, but for the remainder today into early tomorrow, a couple tenths of an inch with the activity, but certainly, we're not talking 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. So there's some good news there. The isolated activity may lead to maybe a couple areas of slightly higher than a couple tenths of an inch, but certainly something that is not as significant that we've seen with some previous heavy rainfall activity. So there's some good news there. For the foghorns, morning fog outlook tomorrow morning, no major issues across the area, and that's thanks to, this heat and humidity outside. You can see we're not expecting widespread reduced visibility problems or anything along those lines. Huge shout out to Foghorns for sponsoring our channel. We bring this up every time we do the shows, but we're just so thankful to have them as a sponsorship on the channel. Be sure to support them like they support us, and one of the best ways to do that is by checking them out. They're in Springdale and in Fayetteville. Go give them a visit, support them like they support us, an Arkansas original since 2004. And be sure, before you start your commute, tune into these afternoon, evening broadcasts and the morning broadcasts where we'll go over the potential for some reduced visibility with the Foghorns Morning Fog Outlook. Here's a look at what we've got going forward. Here's the drought. As we mentioned, we've got some rain that is into the higher categories in terms of totals over the last several weeks, but it's not enough in many locations. This was updated as of yesterday, and we still got some areas that still have that moderate to extreme drought, especially further to the south and east and further to the west, where the drought conditions are still there. We haven't quite defeated the drought here just yet. The good news is with some of the rainfall that we're expecting in parts of Oklahoma tomorrow, that may help some with the drought situation, especially if we get some more widespread rainfall, even in parts of the river valley. So stick around tomorrow. You'll want to see the latest updates that we've got there. Here's a look at what we got for the 4th of July forecast. As we mentioned, we'll go through that. That wasn't supposed to pop back up there, but, that's just show business. You have to keep moving on. Here's a look at what we got with the regional heat alerts. This was what was supposed to be next, so I apologize for that. Here's a look at what we've got. It's going to be a little bit hotter in some locations, and as we previously mentioned, I can't say for certain what the Weather Service is going to do for 5 days out, right? But we've been mentioning throughout the week that the temperatures and the humidity that we're going to see for the 4th of July, that was making us feel a little bit more certain that there could be more widespread heat index values into the higher levels, more heat advisories, and that's what we've got here for tomorrow. So for the 4th of July, notice there is going to be a little bit more widespread heat advisories. Now, right now, it doesn't include all of our county coverage areas, but keep in mind if you're in an area that's not included with the heat advisory, doesn't mean it's not going to be hot in your area. And there certainly could be some areas that are upgraded or eventually added on in the future. So we'll keep an eye on it, but heat index values, as we've been mentioning throughout the day tomorrow, they could be as high as 100 to maybe even close to 110 in locations. So just take care of yourself out there. Of course, besides the potential for some pop-up showers and storms during the afternoon and the early evening, the main concern tomorrow is going to be the heat. So stay hydrated, take breaks in the shade, and also just take care of yourself in general. Wear the sunscreen, protect your pets, protect your kids, all of that from the heat, because it is going to be pretty warm tomorrow. Then the other thing, there's been a little bit of an upgrade in terms of the severe weather risk for tomorrow. Remember when we showed you earlier today and also, later yesterday evening, that there was that low end risk that was just for parts of northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri, right? Well, the latest outlook is now highlighting parts of northwest Arkansas, a larger portion of northern Oklahoma, and there is going to be a little bit of a change to the forecast. As it's looking right now with Future Scan, we'll show you that here in just a second. We're going to have isolated pop-up showers and storms during the afternoon into the evening, kind of like what we've been seeing today, yesterday, very isolated activity. That's not going to interrupt the plans all day long. Once we get closer to that 11 o'clock to the midnight timeline, that's when we're going to be looking at maybe a complex of storms from the north and west that moves through parts of Oklahoma. This will be another overnight potential, unfortunately, for our neighbors and friends in Oklahoma, parts of southwest Missouri. This will continue into the very early morning hours on Sunday. Now, the tornado risk is not the highest that we've seen, but there is going to be a low-end risk for a couple of spin-up tornadoes. In addition to that, we've got a chance for large hail, but I think the overall primary risk with the storms is going to be damaging winds. Now, another thing to consider too, this is going to be kind of one of those pesky systems that it's expected to gradually weaken as it makes its way further and further into the county coverage area. So we're going to look at a couple different outcomes where we'll have to wait and see. Does it maintain its strength and hold strong to severe limits through the region? Does it dramatically weaken? And it's one of those nights where we get a complex of storms that move through, but they're sub-severe. Or are we going to have a long evening where a little bit more intense levels at severe limits? We're not talking high-end severe weather, but we are talking maybe a little bit stronger activity that maintains its strength as it pushes through. We'll have to wait and see. So stick around. We'll have the latest updates, of course, throughout the day tomorrow. Of course, it's a holiday, so I know you're not going to be tuning in all day long tomorrow. I'm certainly going to be taking some time to be with friends and family, planning to barbecue some ribs and some brisket, stuff like that. But we will be watching the forecast all throughout the day, so just be sure to tune in. So that's a look at what we got there. Here's a look at what we got with Future Scan Radar. And this is throughout the remainder of the afternoon and evening today. Big deal. Not a whole lot of activity. As we head into tomorrow morning, not a whole lot of activity, but notice there is going to be the potential for some scattered pop-up showers and storms in the afternoon, primarily along and south of I-40, and then some additional activity later in the evening. But here's midnight. We've got some showers and storms that develop, and then here comes that complex. And this is what we're going to have to watch and see. Does that maintain strength all the way through the region, or is it going to completely fall apart, or is it going to maintain enough strength that it's at least a complex of storms that pushes through into early Sunday, but it's sub-severe? Not everyone's going to see severe weather, but of course with a complex like this, we know that you're wanting the information of, am I going to see severe weather in the River Valley? Am I going to see it in northwest Arkansas? Is it guaranteed for my portion of Oklahoma? That type of deal. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have the latest updates tomorrow, so stick around for the latest updates then. And like we said, just tune in for the latest. I know you're not going to want to tune in here throughout the day tomorrow, so, we're not going to get our feelings hurt if you're not tuning in throughout the day tomorrow. Don't worry about that. But we are going to be here with the latest updates to let you know on that. No changes with the extended temperature outlook. We're still trending above average, so it's about to get warm. In fact, we've got triple digits popping up in several locations as we head into mid to late week next week with the 7-day forecast. You'll see that here in just a second. The other thing, too, is we've got some precipitation still into the slightly to moderately above average potential, so may not be done with rain and storm activity. So we're going to kind of keep that pattern going. It's not going to be one of those things where, we're going to end July and every single day had rain. That's not going to be the case here. It's not going to be as active as it was in June and late May, but there will be some additional rain and thunderstorm activity to just let you know about. And you can see it here with the 7-day forecast. Right now, those extended forecasts are 6 to 10 days out, that type of deal. So we're going to get a little bit of a break before we see maybe some more active weather as it's looking with the trends in the late term. Right now, though, temperatures a little bit of a drop between Sunday and Monday. We've got additional chances for some showers and storms then in northwest Arkansas. We put 70% for the chances in the morning on Sunday because this is going to be very early in the morning into the mid-morning when that activity should be pushing through. River Valley, here's where it starts to get warm. 101 is our forecast for Thursday's high, 100 on Friday, upper 90s by the time we get to Wednesday. Besides the storm chances that we've got later tomorrow, and this is the thing, the River Valley right now not highlighted in a risk for strong severe storms. There could be some marginally severe activity with the leading edge. There could just be strong activity that's not quite severe. We'll be keeping an eye on this activity, but as you can see, certainly the temperatures are going to be the primary issue or impact as we make our way into next week. Finally looking at some triple digits once again. Unfortunately, same with Northeast Oklahoma. Very similar forecast between Fort Smith and the Northeast Oklahoma viewing area. Triple digits by the time we get to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, depending on the location. And then we've got the chance for storms, later tomorrow into early Sunday. Same with parts of Southwest Missouri. Not quite as much activity in Southwest Missouri as it's looking, but still rain chances right around 40 to about 50% or so. Just forecast transparency. We don't typically show 50% on the graphics, and that's because we don't want you to think that you may or you may not see activity. It's not 50-50 chance you see it. That's typically the interpretation that you get with that. So we typically go from 40 to 60, and this is just full transparency with you because we don't want you to think because it's 50-50 that if there is a chance for storms, it's going to be absolutely guaranteed or not guaranteed, or you may not see it. There's going to be pretty decent coverage across the area. So we don't want you to think that you may or you may not see storms. So again, severe weather risk there. It's not going to be necessarily as much just because, some of the activity may be a little bit greater in the portions of Oklahoma in terms of the widespread activity, but there's still going to be a risk that we want you to be aware of. Heavy rainfall, severe wind, maybe some hail, isolated tornado potential, all along the lines there. That's a look at what we got with the Southwest Missouri forecast, Oklahoma, Northwest Arkansas, River Valley. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you have a great, holiday weekend as we're starting to head into the 4th of July. Enjoy it. Be careful with the fireworks. We're going to see if we can do some fireworks with me and my family, but make sure that you're protecting yourself when you're doing the fireworks. I want to make sure that this is not the last forecast update that you're watching with all of your fingers. So take care of yourself from the heat. Be careful with the fireworks. We're not going to be party poopers and, tell you everything that you need to do. But, follow the safety instructions for heat, fireworks, all that. And I hope you have a great 4th of July. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And, be sure to tune in. We've got more storm chances on the way. We'll be here to cover all of that. There's that. And we have a little TVS there, tornado vortex signature. And that's indicative of some fairly strong rotation. With the latest state-of-the-art equipment, we can call out areas of concern ahead of the warning. And there it is. We called it here first, y'all, and we are able to show you these things in real time, and our tools, you can't beat them. We're able to show you these things as they happen before the warning even occurs.
This is coverage you won't find anywhere else. Weather coverage with Joshua Weisel in the Weather 225 Storm Studios. Weather local to you since 2015.
If you like our media and forecast, be sure to support us today on Patreon. You can advertise with us this storm season and throughout the year. Contact us today for availability and pricing. Weather 225 since 2015.